If you're watching the news at all, you know that we've seen farmers in the news over the last, month, in a in a pretty spectacular fashion. Normally, farmers don't ever make the news. It's just they're just out there, and they don't make the news. But they're definitely making the news recently because the tariffs that Trump is putting on China have resulted in retaliatory moves on China's part, and they have decided in 2025 this year to not buy any U.S. soybeans. Now, the Chinese soybean market is roughly one fourth. Think about this: one fourth of the entire U.S. crop. So you take the entire U.S. crop, one fourth of that goes to China every year. It's about $12 billion. B with a B, $12 billion. And so that's been lost. Well, it does a couple things. I mean, here we are right at, they're harvesting soybeans. Um, you know, they're almost done now. We're certainly two-thirds of the way through the soybean harvest. And where do you go when your single biggest buyer doesn't want any? And so I don't want this to dwindle into a tariff discussion. What I do want to touch bases with everybody on is the soybean farmers are asking for two things now. Of course, they're cranking up the soybean industry has a huge lobby, which includes the glyphosate manufacturers, because a lot of Roundup Ready soybeans, you've heard that probably. That's glyphosate, okay? And so it's not just the farmers. There's an entire. I want you to understand when you read these things, it's not just farmers growing soybeans. There's the fertilizer companies, the combine companies to harvest them, the planting companies to make the equipment to plant them, the storage companies, those big Butler bins that you see, these big, silos that they store it in, the natural gas that's bought to dry them in, the the herbicides that are applied like glyphosate to keep the weeds down. What I'm getting at is that this isn't just the soybean lobby is not just a bunch of soybean farmers. It's a very, very broad, um, massive industry. And so what's happened is that with this loss of the Chinese market, the I'm going to say the soybean lobby. Now you understand that it's bigger than just soybean farmers. The soybean lobby is pressing the Trump administration to number one, find markets, find somebody else we can sell this to, and B, offer the farmers somewhere between 11 and 12 billion dollar bailout for the farmers who are going to lose, supposedly, according to USDA um, uh, pencil pushers, they're going to lose $200 per acre on their soybeans this year, and corn farmers are going to lose about $100 per acre per year. Just There's just too much corn, and um, so what's happening is all of this, you know, um, angst, agricultural angst over the depressed commodity prices and that these guys aren't making any money. What's interesting is that if you're also watching the news, you know that the cow numbers in the US are right now lower than they've been since the 1940s. That's caused by a number of things. The most precipitous one recently was the drought in the lower half of the United States during 1920 1920 during 2021 to 22 and into a little bit of 23. And at that time, many herds were literally liquidated because there just wasn't any grass to feed them. These are cows, and so they were liquidated. The other thing that's happening, of course, is the aging farmer. The average American farmer is now 60. The average American cattle farmer is almost 70. There's about a 10-year age difference between the average crop farmer and the average livestock farmer. Um, I I'm not sure why that is. I actually don't know why that is. Um, Except that, if you've got a little herd of cows, you can do that. You can do that for a pretty long time. Crop farming now is so big and industrial intensified that that old farmers tend to not want to drive combines from midnight to 4 in the morning anymore. Of course, it could be too that all the chemicals used in crop farming, they all die, before they get that old. So I don't know what I don't know what the answer is of why there's about a 10-year difference. But anyway, the point is that on this cycle, there's historically, if you go way back to the 1800s even, there's about a 10 to 12 year cattle cycle. They build up and then the price goes low, people get out, and then the numbers drop down, and then the price comes up, and it's about a 10 to 12 year cycle, and you can see it's pretty regular throughout. Well, this one is an anomaly. It is the high price, and the prices right now are higher than anything I've ever seen anywhere close in my life. I mean, we're talking about a day old baby calf selling for $700. I mean, these things are like they're like four-legged gold bars, and
Wait, compare that to like historically, how
oh,
much do you think
historically,
they would
oh,
go
I,
for?
I I I can remember buying day old baby calves for 25 and $30.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So, if it can walk through the sale barn, it'll be $150. Even if you think it might die in the next hour, it's going to be $150, which which historically is just unprecedented. And feeder cattle, which have most of my lifetime. I mean, obviously, they've come up in my lifetime, but um, it's been a gradual thing to where in the last 15 years, somewhere between a dollar 50, a dollar 70 a pound for a 400 or 500 pound calf. That would be a calf that's weaned. So he was born in the spring, or born, and then grew up and now he's weaned. Um, those calves would sell for, 150, 140 to 170. And of course I can remember when they were sold for 70 or 80 cents, but I'm talking about more. I'm older now, so I'm one of those old cattle geezers too now, so um but the difference between me and most of these others is that I've got this young youthful team here, and I'm surrounded by young, youthful energy. I'm not just, a single old fart out here, going around with his little herd of 20 cows, which I'm not trying to denigrate that. I'm just saying that is, I mean, the average cow herd in America is like 30 cows. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. There are a very, very, very small kind of hobby herds. Guy, he works in town. He's a factory worker. He's a, lawyer or doctor or whatever. And he's got this, little, 80, 100 acre farm, and he's got, this little herd of cows, which is his therapy. Call them therapy cows. From the stresses of work, of a town job. So anyway, the fact is that a lot of these guys are older, and so they don't want to expand their herds, even if they have the grass, and even if there's a huge demand, and the price is unbelievable. They don't want to expand because there's finally a time when you age and you don't want to expand at any price. I don't want the headache. I don't need it. Don't need that in my life. In fact, I'm thinking about selling the farm, kind of thing. And so that has retarded the response to this huge price increase. So here's my thought about the whole soybean thing. Um, I'm listening, and it's crickets. I don't hear anything. I'm listening for somebody in that soybean or agriculture community to say, why don't we why don't we replant some perennial prairie polyculture forages on this soybean acreage and grow cows. Cows are, like gold right now, and soybeans, cycle up and down and up and down. See, the problem with with annuals, Cena, the difference between livestock and annual cropping is that in annual cropping, corn, soybeans, cotton, rice, wheat, you plant the crop and you harvest the crop in the same season. I mean, it's like a 6 month window. All right. Well, you can make huge adjustments. And Cena, if there is one group that is peer dependent, it's farmers. I mean, they're like a fraternity, and they're watching what each other's doing. Hey, did you hear? This is bringing a good price. That's bringing a good price. Whatever, and so they flock to it. And the beauty of cropping is that you can put the crop in and you can get your money back in one season. But when it comes to livestock, you've got to birth them, breed them, wait for them to grow, birth them again. It's a long cycle. If I decided today to increase my cow herd, that means that I would say, okay, this year we're not going to take as many heifers to slaughter. Heifer is a female, that can have babies. And so we're going to keep our calf. We're going to breed that heifer in the spring. She's going to have a calf. That calf we're going to raise, and it's a 9.5 month gestation. So now we got almost another year till that calf has a calf, and then 2 more years till that calf's ready to sell. We're talking about a 4 year window out there. The day you say, let's expand on soybeans, the whole cycle happens in 6 months. In cattle, that cycle happens in 4 years, which creates its own protection from the volatility of the marketplace. This is why crop farmers are always, it seems like they're always skating on the edge, because they're watching the commodity prices, watching the futures, watching Chicago Board of Trade, and they're making a decision in spring. How many acres I'm going to go plant in corn or soybeans or wheat or cotton or whatever, and they are making these decisions, on a very narrow horizon. Whereas in livestock, cows, sheep, pigs, even chickens for that matter, the horizon is way longer, which means A, you can't respond as fast. But B, it means that it doesn't crash as fast. So the commodity end of it, the annuals over here, the crop stuff, rises and crashes like a roller coaster, precipitously. Whereas cattle, yes, it rises and falls, but it's a much more gentle curve because of the long horizon. Friends, want to dive deeper into our thought-provoking conversations? Become part of the Beyond Labels family today by joining below. For any gift amount, you'll get access to the full uncut episodes.
Every contribution, whether big or small, keeps this podcast going.
So join us and expand your Beyond Labels experience. Thank you.